John Phillips, the Managing Director of HTS Limited, in what way has day-to-day life changed for your company?
Okay, Michael, yeah. So as of Mr. Johnson's announcement on Monday evening, things changed in terms of us doing general day-to-day services. So essentially, as of yesterday, we are focusing on essential priorities rather than regular work. So how are we doing that? Well, we've agreed some priorities. So on our environmental piece, clearly building cleaning continues with a focus on sanitation related work. And that means we're doing work in offices, we're doing work in communal areas, on housing estates as well. Refuse bin collections, we collect a number of refuse bins across the town, including dog waste bins as well. So that continues as a priority, although with lockdown generally, I suppose there's an expectation that the use of bins will reduce. Not so many people out and about, not so many people needing to put rubbish in the bins.
John, I just interrupt, John. I'd be out for my daily jog, and I've never seen so many dogs in my life in Harlow at the moment. So maybe they'll need you more.
Yeah, perhaps they're being walked to an inch of their life. Yeah, exactly. So, well, we're providing the service, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But non-essential work that clearly has no impact on the well-being of the customers we serve. We're stepping that down a little bit and focusing on the safety of our people. Although that does bring opportunities for us, which I can talk about now if you want.
Yes, please do.
So essentially, we've got a considerable number of our people that can't do their normal day job. We've got vans that are not being driven around the town as a reason for that. And I have to say, some of our people potentially getting quite bored of the prospect of spending time at home. So what we're exploring is if we can do this safely, and I think we can do, of putting some of our people on a voluntary basis to work to help in the community. So if there are vulnerable residents who need some shopping delivered or what have you, we're looking at hooking up with organisations like Rainbow Services to see what help we can provide, obviously within the limitations that the government have set us. So early days yet, but we're exploring that opportunity. So we'll see where that goes, and perhaps if we catch up again later, I can let you know where that's got to.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And how's the morale of staff? Is it important to keep your morale of your staff high as well?
That, I'd say, is probably one of the biggest challenges we have. It's counterintuitive for me to be working from home, not seeing my people and not being able to talk to them face to face. And I would say something that we really, really need to be working on. And indeed, this morning, my regular phone calls that we now have with senior managers in the organisation, that was one of the areas that we were focusing on. How do we keep that communication up and keep talking to people? I have to say, it is mixed. There are some areas where people have managed to set up, WhatsApp chat groups. And what managers are telling me is, those regular chats and that between teams are keeping morale high. So we'll look to do something like that more if we can, and regular updates to our employees through the text arrangements that we've got. So we can keep in touch with everybody through mobile phones as well, and we're going to try to keep doing that. Something that's coming up, I think tomorrow, isn't there, at 8 o'clock, there's this sort of national thing around giving if you like, stepping out your front door and giving NHS people a round of applause. So we're trying to promote that in the organisation as well, so that we can support our colleagues in the NHS by, like you say, giving a round of applause.
Brilliant. Excellent. Just for the avoidance of doubt, because sometimes, the term emergency repairs only, can you just maybe tell us what exactly you see is an emergency and what isn't an emergency?
Yeah, so we're dealing with, I'd like to describe it as emergency plus, if you like. So priority work. So we're not just going out and making something safe. So if a pipe was leaking, we're not just turning the supply off and stopping it leaking. We're trying to fix that pipe. So that gives you an example of what we're trying to do. So things like leaks, like gas safety, like electrical safety, all of those are priority areas. If you've got an elderly customer that's vulnerable, that has no heating, we'll go out and fix that. Those are the sort of areas that we're looking at in terms of repairs. So get a bit of a feel for it. Day before yesterday, we had something like 300 calls into our call centre that are now all set up and working remotely. And of that, probably 25 of those calls were priority type activity. And all of that work got completed. Clearly, it's early days, and we need to just keep an eye on how that develops over the week. But at the moment, it's interesting because probably equally customers don't necessarily want people in their homes at this time. They want to make sure that they're safe, and one way of doing that is not ordering a repair that actually is probably not needed at this time.
And finally, you're linked. Are you linked up with, for example, the chief executive of Harlow Council and the leader of Harlow Council and other key agencies? You're in the loop, as they so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. I think early from last week and leading up to Boris's lockdown, we were talking every day. Chief exec convenes a regular meeting of senior officers in the council and key partners, and HTS are one of those. That regularity is probably going down to sort of one every other day, but we're working well, and if you like, sharing our skills and attributes. So the sort of task and finish type attitude of HTS is working well with some of the strategic thinkers in the council, which is quite an interesting blend, and it's very healthy.
Brilliant. Excellent. So if maybe a week's time we can come back and speak to you and see how things are progressing, John.
Yeah, good news, and hopefully I will have good news to report back to you, fingers crossed.